Hey everybody, this is a tutorial of a very easy way to create an interesting double exposure look for your image. The first thing I'm going to do is open Photoshop, as you can see here, and get my first image, my portrait, into my Photoshop program. So to make things easy on myself before I even open Photoshop, I put my two pictures that I want to use right here on my desktop so that I can easily access them. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using the ever so lovely J-Law. So I'm going to click and drag her down into here. So the first thing I want to do is remove her from the background. No matter what my subject is, if it's an animal, if it's a person, I'm going to remove it from my background. So over here in my tools panel, I am going to click on my quick selection tool, or I can press the key W on my keyboard. Once I have clicked the quick selection tool, my brush with a plus or a minus sign will appear. To make my brush larger, I use my bracket key. To make my brush smaller, I use the left bracket key. And to make sure that I am selecting, I am on the plus sign. So now I'm going to click and hold and paint around until I select all of Miss Lawrence. If I get areas that I don't want, I am going to hold down the Option or the Alt key. I will then see a minus sign, and that means that I can subtract from my selection. Now your lines could bounce back and forth. That's okay. It just takes a little bit of patience, getting it on there the best that you can. There will be a space where we can refine these edges in just a minute, so don't worry about every single little bitty hair or line right now. You can see over here, I've missed a little spot. That's okay. Now, up here at the top, I am going to choose the Select and Mask button, and it will bring me to this view. You can change how you view your selected masked area over here in the view. I like to use overlay. What I can do now is with the Refine Edge Brush tool chosen, I can go along the edges where my choices of my selected area meet, and you can see it's going to go back and decide on some of those places for me. This is especially helpful with hair. So we get all these wispy hairs in here. I'm going to go right along, and it will help just refine that work along the edges of her hair. If I don't like that, I can simply click back over here to my quick selection tool. It works just like it did. There we go. So now would be a good time for you to pause the video and work on your own image, getting it selected, removing just the parts you want. That's good enough for an example. So now down over here, what I want to do next is choose my output settings. If you do not see the choice down here to click decontaminate colors, make sure that you click this little sideways arrow so it points down, and there's your decontaminate colors. And then I click OK. And now I have removed my subject from the background. It may still appear because my background layer is still there. What I want to do next is choose my background layer, come down to my adjustment layer button right here, choose it once, Go all the way to the top, choose solid color. And now I will click on white and click OK. Now I'm just going to click and drag and completely delete my background copy, my background layer. I'm not too worried about those edges. They do look fuzzy, but it's okay. Next, I am going to do any adjustments that I want. I personally am going to turn this black and white. You don't have to. I'm just going to show you that it works that way. Back down here, I choose a new adjustment layer. This is where I can turn my image black and white if I want to. Work on my black and white values, my contrast, highlights. Adjust them the way I want them. I could also add other adjustment layers, working on exposure, on my curves if I wanted to. It is up to you. Whatever kind of adjustments you want to make, you make them here. You don't have to make curves in black and white. It's up to you. Now what I'm going to do is bring in my second image. Remember, I set myself up for success and put it right up here so that I could just tug Photoshop out of the way, click on my image, drag it down, hover it over my workspace, and drop it like it's hot. Now, it has a big X through it and the dots around the border because I am in the transform phase right now. That means I can move this all around. I can click on it and stretch it as far as I want it to go. If I want to see how that looks according to my subject, I can change the opacity just for this step and then put it back when I'm done. So there, that kind of helps give me a better idea of where my composition is aligning. Once you have it set to where you want it, you can hit Enter or the Return key on your keyboard, and it will lock your picture into place. Come back over to your opacity and make sure to slide it back over to 100%. Now, I want to make a layer mask out of this layer, but only for where my subject is. So, holding down the Command key, I am going to click on my mask of my background copy right down here. So I'm holding on to my Command key, clicking on my background copy mask, and you can see the marching ants of my subject coming out around here. Now what I'm going to do is come on down and click the mask button right here. And now I've created a layer mask just in the outline of my subject. If you need to, hit the pause button or your space bar and do this for your own picture at this time. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to come over here to my paintbrush. Now that I've created a mask, I want to make sure that my mask is chosen. That is the space that I'm working on, right here. With my color swatches, with black as the foreground color. Remember, we can switch them using the double-ended right angle arrow. But I want to make sure black is my color. If it's not, I can click on that black square and it will pop open my color picker and I can choose black. Now I'm going to come up here to the top, open my brush picker, and I want to choose a brush that has a soft edge. I don't want something that's super duper hard or has really defined outlines. So I'm just going to choose a brush that has a soft edge. You could also change the hardness over here. You can change the size here if you want to. You can also change it with your bracket keys on your keyboard as well. The next thing I'm going to do is change my flow. The flow is how much is applied or painted on, and in this case, technically removed, every time I click and swipe. So I'm going to click on that little drop down and put it down pretty low. I only want to work a little bit at a time until I build up what I'm happy with in my image. Now what I'm going to do is paint over just the subject's face. And I can watch the beautiful J-Law appear through my city. If you would like more of your subject to come through, you would simply go back over the same spot a few times. But I'm really going to focus on just a little bit. I don't want too much. If I got too much, I can come back over here, flip-flop my colors, and paint the city back on. Okay, so now what I want to do is, for my last step, so I'm going to come over here with my new layer mask that I created in my background that I brought in. I'm going to change my blending mode from normal to lighten, and it is going to gently blend and phase my portraits together. And that is how you create a double exposure. From here, I can go back and refine my image however I want. Right here, I see that I picked up a lot of the sequence in her arm, and I don't like that. So what I can do is paint that city back on. That's back over here in my color swatch, making sure that I'm still on my paintbrush. I'm going to bump up the flow just a little bit. Make things move a little faster here. Now, the last thing I want to show you guys is what you can do from here to kind of polish things up. So if I wanted to see what my subject looked like with the color background, see how the background is in color and my subject is in black and white, I could click on the eyeball here and see what she looks like in color or in black and white. If I wanted to make my background layer black and white, I could come down and use my adjustment button and switch that to black and white as well and adjust it to match. The other thing that I can do is using my paintbrush, having my mask selected over here, I can decide how much of the city and how much of Jennifer Lawrence I want to appear. So I can switch my arrows back to my white swatch over here. And if I paint around, it will bring the background back. So when I'm on black, it will bring Jennifer Lawrence back, or my subject back through. When I am on the white, it will bring the city back through. So I could come over and I could bring more of my background through if I wanted to, have more of a nice even blend, or I can have more Jennifer Lawrence. It all just depends on what you want for your image. Make sure to file, save as a Photoshop document so you could open it up and keep working. Then if you're ready to be done and save as a JPEG, you file flatten, and then file, save as, and change your format down here to a JPEG, and then rename it whatever you want. Good luck.